said, why can't they come here?
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to ISKCON of Silicon Valley. It's a pleasure to have everyone here tonight, and I must say it's a pleasure to be here. Tonight we'll explore a few thoughts from the ancient Vedic Shastras like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, hopefully ones that we can take with us and employ in our lives. This organization was started by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. No small feat to start an organization. Of course, anyone can start an organization. You just have to go down and register and say, here it is. But to maintain it over a long period of time, and then to be succeeded by those who are qualified enough to maintain the standard that one sets when starting the organization is another thing altogether. So, the credit to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is profusely given by people all over the world for not only starting an organization, but setting high standards and then inculcating those standards into the hearts and minds of many people all over the world, even or especially people who are not acquainted with the culture from which it originated. In fact, true to the idea of the Vedic culture itself, it's meant to be given to everybody, as was mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the quintessential literature on Bhakti Yoga. The main speaker, Shukadeva Goswami, says, Kirata hunandra pulinda pulakasha abhirashumba yavana kasaraya yene chapapa yarapashraya shaya shudyanti tasmai pravivishneve namaha. The process of pure spiritual practice, that is, worshiping God through devotional service, natural propensity of the soul, when directed by some guidelines, rules and regulations in sadhana bhakti. Anyone from any position in life, no matter how many retrograde habits he or she has developed, can become pure by the process, because it's so powerful. Or because it connects one to Vishnu, who's the supreme powerful. So this is the idea of the Krishna consciousness movement. Therefore we have this outpost. Outpost means our real center, or the center of the international site for Krishna consciousness is in Mayapur, place of pastimes and appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and also Vrindavan. And of course, we include Jagannath Puri because it's a room in the same house as Mayapur. And the practice of Krishna consciousness is something that we're all equipped for. If you take up a sport like golfing, which I don't necessarily recommend, I only played it once, and I found there was too much paraphernalia. In fact, I see people in the airport all the time carry around golf bags. You got to have clubs, and people go to sleep thinking about getting a new club, what kind of ball they're going to get. It's going to go 2 inches further if they hit it. I see people practicing their cricket swing or pitch. All these activities and many more have so many items that one has to accumulate in order to keep in the practice. But for devotional service, we don't need anything. In fact, thinking back to the speaker of the Srimad Bhagavatam on Bhakti Yoga, he didn't even have any clothes. He didn't wear clothes. Means everything we need to practice devotional service we already have. A couple of ears and a tongue. Those are the two prerequisites. Not even that, because there's a ever-increasing contingency of practitioners of Bhakti Yoga that I'm close with in London, and they can't hear. They can feel the vibration, though. So there's an inner ear also, where we can feel the vibration. However, if we have ears, it's helpful, don't you think? A little bit? Okay. So let's explore a little bit of the practice of Bhakti Yoga. First of all, we'll perform what's called the Yuga Dharma. In every yuga, there's a process that's simplified so that one can engage oneself in a direct process that connects one to Krishna or God, just by the activity itself. And the Yuga Dharma in the present age in which we live is the congregational chanting of the Lord's names. Most highly recommended mantra coming to us through our line of teachers is called the Maha Mantra, or great mantra for deliverance. And the words are as follows. Please repeat. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we'll sing for a little while. We'll start the chanting, the congregational chanting, which is a call and then respond. I'll sing the mantra and then you can respond if you wish. If not, you can just listen. And we have a set of prayers which honor the founder Acharya, whom I just mentioned, Srila Prabhupada. And then we have a set of prayers worshiping Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's Krishna himself, but he's appeared in the Kali Yuga to teach the Yuga Dharma, among other things. And it also names his associates who are all in the same category as he is. They're all spiritual beings. They're called avatars. Avatar means one who crosses over from a higher dimension to our dimension in order to help us gain a higher perspective. Shall we try? Okay. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Sri Mate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshakarne Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Dena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namah Sheshnam Manamapi Sachiputram Atra Surupam Shri Rupam Tasya Grajam Aruparimatidnun Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaramaho Radhika Madhavasham Rapto Yasya Pratiti Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinda Nitai Namineche Namirhate Shadamulina Dite Chere Nitai Naminekshe Namarhate Shadamulyena Tite Chere Nitai Naminekshe Namarhate Shadamulyena Tite Chere Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Last chance. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Who here likes to win things? Like to win things? Not very many of you? Whenever a package comes to our door, I like to pretend we won something. Of course, there was causality behind it because somebody probably got on Amazon Prime and ordered it, but it's always, oh yeah, there's a package. Looks like we won something. And people don't mind it when they get a random call, something great happened. You're the recipient of. We're knocking at your door because you've won Srimad Bhagavatam set. And the Srimad Bhagavatam gives a similar angle to the fact that we've received a human body. If you ever feel a little bit down or you feel beleaguered because of all that's going on in your life, you might remember this. In fact, Krishna himself, when instructing Uddhava, when we get to the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, he says, Nrideham adyam sulabam sadulabam plavam sukalpam guru karnavaram mayanakulyena nabasvateritam bhuman bhavabdim nataredsa atmaha. In this verse, he describes how we've won something. You want to know what you've won? Yes. A brand new boat. Yeah, you've won a boat. Sometimes there was a game show when I was a kid. It was called Let's Make a Deal. It was the biggest show on television. And there would be 3 curtains. And people would make deals with the facilitator of the show. He'd trade them things, they'd answer questions. And then he'd give them a chance to win something. And they'd say, 3 curtains, which would you like? Door number 1, door number 2, door number 3. And sometimes if people would pick a certain curtain and they'd open it and there'd be a goat behind it, like a live goat. And they say, you want a goat. People think, oh, what am I going to do with a goat? And sometimes they'd win a boat. It's like, oh, you want a boat. So when we come into the human form of life, Krishna says, Nri. Nri means human. It's a very special form. It's a kind of biomechanical robot that has all facility to take us back home, back to Godhead. Nrideham, the deham means the body. Nrideham adyam means that it has full facility. Like when you get a car, sometimes you want to know, is it fully loaded? Did anybody here ever buy a new car? You can admit it. I know it's the wrong thing to do, but you can admit it. You're not supposed to buy a new car. You're supposed to buy one used because they depreciate by 50% when you drive them off the lot new. Anyway, it's a whole other topic. Nrideham adya means that you've got yourself a body this time that's fully loaded. It can get you everything and take you anywhere, in fact, to the best place. Nrideham adyam sulabam sadulabam. And it comes quite naturally. It came to you without you trying. In fact, what the meaning is that you could try, but you couldn't get it yourself. No matter how many arrangements you made, and no matter who you knew or who you paid under the table, you couldn't get one of these. It's not possible to get unless it's just given to you naturally as an award by the material nature. So, everybody, you ready? On 3? 1, 2, 3, cheer up. Feel happy now. You won something. Nrideham adyam sulabam sadulabam. Plavam. What is it you want? A plavam. You want a boat. Plavam sukalpam. Gunkarnadaravam. And that boat that can take you anywhere, you just need a captain to take you across, because the boat's new to you. You just got it. Every new body we get, it takes just a little while to figure out. A wildebeest doesn't take that long, because they have to get away from the lions. The lions come when the wildebeest is young, and it just takes a few minutes to figure out how to walk and to mature a little bit, start to run with its mother. A human being, sometimes 16 years old, sometimes 32 years old, they're still not. We're still wondering, are they going to grow up yet? Human body takes a while to develop, but if you have a good captain, karnam means that captain can just get on right on and show you, like, here's how to do it. That's why the culture of the Bhagavat means that you take help from the very beginning at every step, from the parents who are supposed to give you instruction, and then you get a guru in your school and other kinds of gurus who instruct you, and all the way through you're getting good guidance. So plavam sukalpam guru karnadaram means that you get all facility. Everything good comes from this boat. And mayanakulyena debespateritam. The other thing that you need is mayanakulyena, which is favorable breezes. And these favorable breezes are also available. They come from the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita. These are the breezes that will take us across the ocean of material world to the spiritual world. So you have the boat, you're in it, you just get a captain, show you how to operate it, which way to go, which way not to go, when to sail, when to slow down. And then you have favorable breezes. Umam bababdim. And then he says, if you don't take advantage of this, or you should take advantage of it before the body falls into disrepair and then you can't use it anymore. So take advantage of it as soon as possible. So this is the presentation of Lord Krishna, that we have a boat, we can use it. And so let's talk a little bit about ways that you can take advantage, that we can take advantage of the boat so we can sail it all the way to the spiritual world. What do you think? Okay. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there are some very important questions. The sages are assembled and they're sitting in front of or before Sutta Goswami, who has been designated as their facilitator and speaker because he's learned everything by the mercy of his gurus and by his studious nature, and because he's very soft-hearted and he's a great devotee. So they ask him this question: Burini buri karmani shotavyani vibhagasa atta sadyo trayatsaram samudritya manishaya bruhi bhadraya bhutanam yena ma suprasidati. Says Burini buri karmani. There's burini, buri. There's so many things to read. If you go to Loi Bazaar and you venture into what looks like a small little shop, it's Rasa Vihari Lal's, at the end of the block on the right-hand side. And you think, oh, what's this little shop? They just sell a few pieces of tilak. But if you go upstairs, somehow or other in India, they know how to fit things. If a taxi pulls up and goes, we'll never fit all this. The guy looks at you like, no, I'll fit it all. And just 2 minutes later, it's all in, right? So in these little shops, Rasa Bihari Lal's, you go up there, like, do you have this book? Oh yeah, we have that book. Do you have that book? Yes, we have that. This Purana, Manu, the teachings of Manu, of course we have that. Everything they have from every part of the universe. And they have many different little cubby holes where all these books are kept. So, Burini Budi, there's so many things that you can hear, that you can listen to or read. And of course, the great learned sages, by oral tradition, there were so many things passed down. There are many teachers. Sometimes we come across so many ashtakams and stotrams that you can chant to every demigod in the world, every form of the Lord, and so forth. Like, which one should we do? So they're asking this because they know all these things. They know what's available. Buddhini buddhi karmani. And also there's so many things you're supposed to do and not do. In fact, when I joined the Hare Krishna Temple, I found out really fast that there's a lot of things you're not supposed to do. Like, don't touch that, get your foot off of that, don't wash your hands. I had somebody follow me around for about 3 days until someone said, come on, he's brand new, give him a break. But these are the simple things to learn. If one grows up in a family, like Srivas Pandit Prabhu would tell about how his father was a very rigid practitioner. He followed all the different rules of the Vedas, and many of you come from families like that. 3 hours of puja in the morning just to get warmed up. And then this stotram, that stotram, worship every god in the universe, and so forth. And so after some time, there's many obligations that one feels one has to follow. It gets passed down to you from your family, from the culture, and so forth. So he's saying, buddhini buddhi karmani. So which things should we read? What things should we follow? What do we have to do? Shotavyani vibhagasha. And there's so many things to hear, and nowadays we can relate to this, right? If you go on YouTube, don't recommend it, but if you go and look there, there's a plethora of subject matters that you can get your mind hooked to, isn't it? In fact, a lawsuit just went out today. People are suing TikTok and IG. See, I know stuff. And all these companies, they're suing them because of the effect that these social media are having on children. Because there's AI behind it all. My uncle will tell you all about it, the AI, how it starts to, it figures out, in fact, AI knows more about us than we know about ourselves, because we're not watching ourselves, we just do what we do, but the AI is watching everything and records it, makes an algorithm and feeds it back to us. It's like, okay, you want to go to hell, I got that, let me help you out here. And starts dragging you down. All you have to do is look at one wrong thing. Dhyato vishayam pumsam sangasteshu pajayate, sangat sanjayate kama, kama krodo vijayate. Down you go into the lower modes of material nature. So many things to hear. Everyone's talking about something. In fact, as far back as the biblical times, there's a story of the Tower of Babel, which was the undoing of a civilization when people didn't know what to talk about. Everyone was talking nonsense all at the same time. Buddhini buddhi karmani shotavyani vibhagasha. So what are all these things people are talking about? What are people hearing about? What topics? Sado sadyat. So buddhini buddhi karmani shotavyani vibhagasha. Atta sadho tariyat saram. So they say, oh, sadhu, you're a learned person, you're practicing properly, therefore, what's the saram? What's the essence? What do we have to hear that actually will satisfy our soul? Samutrita manishaya. What do you think? That's what he means, manishaya. What do you think about this? You're qualified to tell us. Yena masu prasidati, so the soul becomes satisfied. So we know what the answer was, right? Most of us know, because most of us have studied the Srimad Bhagavatam a little bit. And the answer comes from Sutta Goswami rather quickly. In the 6th verse, the 2nd chapter, he says, Savai pumsam paro dharmo. If you know it, go ahead. Yata bhaktir ahoksaje ahaitukya pratiyata yatma supasidati. It's good work if you can get it. It says, the best thing for all humans, for all you Nris out there, Savai pumsam paro dharmo. Getting a hobby shop going over there. Savai pumsam paro dharmo, yato bhakti radhoksajay. So you should perform devotional acts, service to Adhoksajay, the Supreme Personality of God. He's beyond comprehension by the words. Whatever you can describe in kakakagama, chachachanama, tatadanana, tadadadada, between all those letters and all the alphabet, you can't describe him. He's Adhoksaja. He's so unbelievably beautiful and powerful. So that's God, that's Krishna. So savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhakti radhoksajay. So devotional acts unto him. And what should the quality be? It should be a haituki pratiyata. It means, haituki means you don't want anything in return. You're not doing it because you need something. You're doing it because it's first of all, the right thing to do. That's duty, the mode of goodness. And then you develop this natural love, or starts as gratitude and it develops into love, doing it because you love the person. It's a haituki. There's no cause for it. You're not doing it for prospect. I want something in return. And apratiyata means that there's no breakage in it. It's not that you just do a little bile and then you go back to something else that's more important. No, it's the most important thing, and you do it all the time. You can live in it always. So it becomes part of your very existence. And yenatma suprasidati. That's, he says, what can satisfy the self. So this is the practice that Srila Prabhupada came to teach. It's the method that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught and his disciples codified under his direction so that we could take it up, called devotional service. And at first there's some rules to follow so that one can be on the straight and narrow in the practice of devotional service and control the senses. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Mavashar Videhatma Prasadam Adhigachchiti, that if you're able to help yourself through following these rules of devotional service, then you'll be able to receive the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Prasadam Adhigachchati, it flows down to you quite naturally. And we all have that potency. It's not that somebody has it and another person doesn't. As is mentioned by Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Kriti Sadhya Bhavet Sadhya Bhavasa Sadhana Bhiva Nitya Siddhasya Bhavasya Prakatyam Hridi Sadhyata. He says that the potentiality of sadhana bhakti, or taking up the practice on a regular daily basis to follow the rules of devotional service, which we'll go into in just a second, is that you can awaken bhava, or this pure emotion, because prakatyam hridi sadhyata nitya siddhasya bhavasya. That bhava is there naturally within the heart and can awaken through the practice of devotional service. That's the potentiality of devotional service and practice. Sadhana bhakti leads to bhava bhakti. And where do we get that from? We get it from being around those who are practicing bhakti yoga. And we're doing it right now, in fact, as is mentioned also in the Shastra, smaranta smarayantascha, that you should be in association of devotees, mito gauga haram harim. And by smaranta, remembering Krishna, and causing other people to remember, smarantaha, then mito gauga haram harim. What happens for you in that assembly? Uga oga. Everyone say. Now say it 3 times. Yeah, you hope nobody ever gets that name. Hey, Uga. Uga oga das. So uga oga, mito, goga haram harim. It means that we pile up the sinful reactions. We pile them up. It's like people have a 401k. So every conditioned soul in the material world, they have a 401k of sinful reactions. And they've been working on it for a long time, so it carries over from the last life. It's like you come out of the womb, it's like, oh, I still have my 401k. How much is in it? Let's see, there's so many zeros we can't count. That's uga oga. So many sinful reactions. So what happens in the association of devotees is mito, when you come together, mito, Gauga haram harim. So the name of Krishna, everyone say Hari. Hari means one who takes away all your sins, all your obstacles. Mita Gauga haram harim. He's the one who takes them all away. So when you sit with the devotees and you talk about Krishna, you remember and you help other people remember Krishna. Then you become free from all sinful reactions. Bhaktya sanjataya bhaktya. And he says, Bibrat yut pulakam tanum. Even in this body, in this tanum, in this body that we have now, if you're practicing bhakti in the association of those who have bhakti, bhaktya sanjataya bhaktya, and you start with sadhana bhakti, bhaktya sanjayata bhaktya, Then what happens is bibrat utpulakam tanum. Utpulakam means that your hair will stand on end. And you'll start to feel the great happiness of serving Krishna, of being Krishna's eternal servant and thinking of him and serving him in various ways, that you'll feel ecstasy in your body. How often people feel ecstasy at work these days? Like in your cubicle, how often do you get that hair sting on end feeling? No? How about in school? Which class is it where you sit down there and it's like, oh my God. Well, these things are necessary. You have to go to work, you have to go to school, no doubt about it. But it's not that they induce ecstasy. There's some titillation of the senses. This is mentioned in the Bhagavatam. That's this mode of goodness. You feel clear. If you're cultivating nice, clear knowledge, you'll feel something naturally pleasant about your life. You'll see, you have some insight. People like art. They like beautiful music, well composed, and so forth. And in that way, they feel a little bit of, they could touch a little satisfaction, but it's like a drop in comparison to the ocean, what one gets when one hears and chants in the association of devotees. And so it's a very simple process. It means if you take to the practice of bhakti yoga in the association of devotees, then the natural propensity that you have that's there already within the heart, that will awaken, it will come out. Nitya siddhasya bhavasya, it's there already. And what happens is there's an intervention from the spiritual world. Would you like an intervention in your life? Do you like those? Yeah, somebody the other day when we were in Mayapur, have all these meetings, and meetings means some kind of social interaction. I was going to say politics, but I preferred to say social interaction. And so we sat down in a room with somebody, and he goes, "This looks like an intervention." Their position was being changed, so they're like, "Oh, I get it." This is how it goes, right? And we need that also. Come home one day, our lives, how am I going to change? How am I going to change? How am I going to change? I want to be better than I am. Has anybody ever sang that mantra before? Just two people, huh? What kind of change did you want to make? Anybody? Don't just tell me you want to have pure love of God. I already know that. What kind of things on a regular day basis were you trying to change and be better in? Yes. Be healthier. Yeah, that's a big thing. Yeah. Discipline, be more disciplined. Like, why can't I just follow what I want to do, right? Instead of like, how come sitting over here with an empty half-gallon of ice cream and a spoon in my hand? How did I get here? And it's like, I thought I was going to lose weight. Now I even want to get on the scale. So what other things? You can name them all day long. We're always struggling with material nature. There's ways in which we're going through all this. So we need an intervention. We need somebody higher to come into our life. And we walk home, we sit down, and they go, okay, I'm here. We're going to change. So we have to pray for that. And by practicing sadhana bhakti in the association of devotees, we get such an intervention. In fact, it comes to us quite naturally by the mercy of Krishna. And one of the verses that is quite encouraging, Vasudeve Bhagavati, Bhakti Yoga Prayojita, Janet Yukta-vairagya, Jnanam Chayarahitukam, that there's concomitants that come from practicing your basics in devotional service. And that is that you feel a little detached from things that you had wanted to become detached from. There's a solvent, which, by the way, take Downy soap and some, what's that stuff called, the bubbly stuff? That's comes in a dark bottle because you don't want to expose it to the sun. You'd use it on a cut. Hydrogen peroxide. How do you know that? You use that? You mix it with a little Downy soap, and it's a solvent. You get a stain on something, you mix the two together, it comes out. There's a combination. There's always solvents to get things out. So this practice of bhakti, the sound vibration, association of devotees, acts like a solvent. It helps to release us from the attachments to the material nature, the oppression of all the weight of the momentum from the sinful life in the past and so forth. And also we get a little knowledge, a perspective that I'm not my body. It's a very rare thing to have. Most people think, what are you talking about? I'm not my body. I don't get it. Say it again. You could say it 50,000 times. They still won't get it. until there's a little bit of connection to Krishna. It's so important to have some association with devotees and devotional service. In fact, let me tell you a little story. May I? Okay, it's nap time after this. So story means there was a king, and his name was Nriga. And King Nriga was a very powerful king. He was also very smart. He knew how the world worked, and he saw that there's cause and effect. And he decided that he was going to do everything good. Did you ever decide to do that? Did you do it? Not quite. So King Nriga did it, though. He did everything good, the best things you can do. So he looked it all up in the Shastra, and he got an attorney, and he figured it out, that you find the best Brahmins, the highest Brahmins in the world. This is in the Smriti Shastras about giving and charity. If you give it to a Brahmin with great knowledge, who's got great qualities, you get this really huge return. So what did he give away? Best thing you can give to Brahmins, cows. But not just any cows, not cows that were really old, about to die. Some Prabhupada said once somebody had given a gift, it was a madanga, and everyone was all excited, and then they said, oh, it's broken. And Prabhupada said, yeah, this is Kali Yuga. They give you the broken thing. So Nriga didn't do that. He gave the best thing. If there were these best cows, they were vital. They were ready to have more cows. They had golden. They were had been endowed with golden, not endowed with, but their horns had golden ornaments, and they were decorated with jewels. These kind of cows. And he gave them away not just by the hundreds, not by the thousands, not by the millions, but by the tens of millions. He gave them to the most qualified Brahmins. But one day, when he was giving away to one Brahmin, a cow made a U-turn. You ever see a cow make a U-turn? Yeah, they do that sometimes. Then he made a U-turn, and he came back into the greater herd. And then the king, unbeknownst to the king, he gave away the same cow to another Brahmin. So Brahmins are smart. They have some omniscience. And first Brahmin said, I see that you just gave away my cow. And the king said, wait, what do you mean? He said, no, that was my cow. You gave it to him. I know that was my cow. And you gave him to that Brahmin too. And the Brahmin said, why'd you give me his cow? And the two Brahmins started arguing over the thing. And the reaction came back to Nriga. Now, he didn't know what the reaction would be exactly. You ever do something and you think, that's going to leave a mark? I'm just not sure when it's going to come back. Yeah? Please say yes, or I'll feel bad. I do it all the time. It's like, oh, what's going to happen now? So, the perils of living in the material world, right? So, Nriga went on with his activities. He left his body, and he got dropped off at Samyami. You know where that is? It's Yamaraj's house. I'm hanging out with Yamaraj. And Yamaraj, like, okay, let's settle up. Because that's what happens to a person in the material world. It's like, let's settle up and see what you get according to your activities. This is called Daiva Naitrena, which means that it's decided by a higher authority. Karmana Daiva Naitrena, Jantor Dehopapate, Sriya Pravishta Udaram, Pumso Reta Kanashraya. As mentioned by Kapila Dev, he said, this is what you get when you leave your body. It's not up to you anymore. It's like somebody told me what it was like to get arrested. Of course, I already know. But you get arrested, hands go in handcuffed, get pushed into the car, and then you're going with them. There's no, like, hey, could we stop at the 7-Eleven? No, you're not stopping at the 7-Eleven. You're going to the police station. So same thing at the time of death. It's like you're going where you go. That's why Krishna says, why don't you do a little preparation? Because yang yam vapi sparan bhavam tajat yante kalevaram. Yeah, when the music stops, that's where you end up. So there it was. He was there at Yamaraj's abode, Samyami. And so what's going to happen now? And Yamaraj says, okay, I got good news and bad news. Good news is really good because you did so much charity. There's a little bad news, though. Which one do you want to deal with first? Bad karma or good karma? And so, like a good karma kandi, Nriga thought, okay, let me get rid of, like, what kind of vegetable don't you like the most? Huh? I can't hear any of it. You don't like Corella? My God, that's my favorite. Okay, everyone has their own taste, right? Broccoli? I love broccoli. I'm hopeless, I'm sorry. Okay, let's say you don't like broccoli. It's like, so you have other things that you like. What do you like? Pizza? Okay. So you got broccoli and pizza, and you say, like, I'm going to eat the broccoli first, and then I'll just have pizza, and I don't have to worry about the broccoli, right? Okay? I don't mean to blaspheme broccoli. There's 10 offenses. But it's just an example. So the broccoli, you ate the broccoli. It's like, now only I have is pizza. That's all I have to deal with now. So then you say, okay, just pizza. So he said, let me deal with the bad karma first. So as soon as the words came out of his mouth, Yamaraj said, fall. And he started to fall. And he realized that he was becoming a lizard. And he ended up in Dwarka, in a well. He was a big, like a hill, large lizard. Just that day, some of the kids of Krishna and they used to go out and play. And many of them were there playing around, and they looked down the well, as kids would do. And they saw this huge lizard down there and said, let's get him out. So they tried in different ways. They had these leather thongs they got and some big blankets, and they tried to put it under the lizard and pull him out. Poor little lizard stuck in that big well. And so they couldn't do it, so they ran home and they got Krishna. And Krishna came back, and of course he knew what was going on. He always does, but he reached in with his left hand. He just picked up that huge lizard and he brought him out, who turned back into this original form. And began to tell his story about how he got to that position. And he had tried to game the system in the material world, because there's a way that karma kandis, they figure out that if I stick to certain kinds of activities, yes, I'll come back, but in higher levels, and I can always stay in that position. But here, the Bhagavatam is pointing out, don't try to game the system. Anything can happen. Now, let me tell you something that will encourage you in devotional service. May I? Yes. Okay, half of you said yes, the other half cover your ears. And that is, in his commentary on this story, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur tells us a secret. Why did Nriga, although he was a karmakandi, come back and meet Krishna forthwith? Just after falling down from his position, he met Krishna, who actually touched him. I mean, who gets touched by Krishna, right? He had Nriga, in his propensity to give charity, come in contact with a devotee. And the devotee needed some cows, so he gave the cows, and he also needed some books. What books did he need? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, Haribol, go ahead. Let it all out, come on. Yeah. And he gave him some Bhagavad Gitas and Srimad Bhagavatams. And because of that charity, that's why he met Krishna after he left his body and became a lizard. Anybody want to go on Sankirtan? Yeah. Anybody need a case of Bhagavad Gitas? Okay, Srivas, I'll give you a case right afterwards. So, the power of bhakti is undeniable. We hear it again and again throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam. And one who takes to the practice of devotional service even a little bit, Krishna says, will come to the perfect stage step by step by the grace of Krishna within the heart. Now, those are all general comments, just a preamble to what I'm about to say. Okay? So there's two, this has sort of percolated in my mind for a little while, and I just want to get it out of my mind and offer it to you and see what you think for your consideration. Does that sound fair? Okay. There's two areas in which we might become aware of where we can extricate ourselves from the entanglement of the material world and be more focused on our bhakti. Actually, it comes in the other order. The more that we can focus on our bhakti, the more we naturally become extricated from the material world. However, there's two areas that Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita and are mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam that we can become aware of, and I'm going to mention them now. One of them is to give up a sense of entitlement. May I say it again? Entitlement. Did you ever feel entitled to something? Now think carefully before you answer this. Can you think of when it was? People at the airport. Right now there's a rise in fights at the airport and on airplanes. Did you know that? The FAA was trying to figure out why. I mean, of course, we could tell them because the modes of nature, people are in the mode of passion and ignorance, so they fight, right? If people ever fight over who gets what seat, ever see that one? Yeah? Any other things people fight over because they think they deserve it? Huh? Fights for 500? Yeah, promotions. Yeah, now it's coming out. Okay. Work with me, people. Come on. Now what else? Where have you seen people feel entitled? That belongs to me, not to you. Toilet paper. People fought at the beginning of the pandemic. There were riots in the aisles. People scratching each other's eyes out. So that's my toilet paper. How about on the freeway? It's like, that's my lane. You came 1 inch into my lane. There's this constant sense of like, who do you think you are? Don't you know who I am? And this entitlement, it can happen even if one takes the devotional service and thinks, hey, I'm the big shot. I was noticing how Lord Chaitanya, when he was glorified by Ballabhacharya, he said, it's not me. I get this from Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Ramananda Roy. I'm surrounded by all these great devotees. I just say what they say. And I'm nobody. Mahaprabhu lived that. Trinadapi suni chena. He felt no sense of entitlement. And so Queen Kunti says in her prayers that you should notice that there are various ways that you might feel entitled. Janma, like I'm a higher birth, right? Did anybody ever get hung up on that? No, people they don't mind where they're born, right? If somebody moves into your neighborhood, it's like, where does he come from? You know, people all the time, they're judging people according to where their body was born, like where are you from? If you look at the visa system, there's a hierarchy, like who gets a visa first, according to where you're born. So Janma, Aishvarya, how much wealth you have, Shruta, how much learning you have, where'd you go to school? I went to a state college. Or whatever it may be, there's this sense. Shruta Shibir, beauty. Janmaishra Shruta Shibir Edamana Madapuman. He says there's this way in which we feel entitled because of some position. And that ruins everything for us. It ruins our consciousness, and we can't enter into the process of bhakti because of that. So first thing is, work on zero entitlement. Like, I'm entitled to nothing. What do you think? No? Yes? You feel like you're entitled to feel like that? So we can, according to the direction of Queen Kunti, cultivate this understanding. Try it on for size. It's one thing, my god sister Yamuna Devi, she used to say this, the number one enemy of the devotee in devotional service is a sense of entitlement. And the other is expectation. Expectation is the mother of disappointment. I'm expecting this, I'm expecting that. Krishna, what does he say about that in the Bhagavad Gita? Abrahma bhuvana loka punar avartino arjuna mamupetya tukonteya punar janmanavid. Expect nothing. What should you expect in this world? Nothing. Okay, let's try it again. What should you expect in the material world? Nothing. Work with me now. What should you get in the material world? Do like this. Nothing. Yeah. He says, from where? Well, there must be a place over here. Maybe in Malibu I could get something. No. This famous actor and comedian, Jim Carrey, he made millions of dollars. And I saw a quote from him recently. He said, I hope everyone can become wealthy so they can see that there's no happiness here in this. Just misery, because now you don't have any hope that there's happiness, because that's where you hoped before you'd become happy. So Krishna says, expect nothing from the material world. And what does that mean? It means do everything just for service for service. So if we become aware of these two items, that is, have no sense of entitlement and have no expectation from our work, just do service for service, then you'll be unsullied by the touch of the material nature. Those are my comments, and now I will answer some questions. Questions are very difficult to formulate. And if you have a bad question to ask, I will give you $100. I have it in my bag, yes. Tech support on aisle 2. Yellow microphone, please.
It's on. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
You got it.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So when you're saying these final points about how by not having expectation or entitlement, you'll get detachment from the material world, and you shouldn't expect anything either, can that not lead to an extreme where we might neglect, for example, like our relationships, because like we don't pay attention to them, we don't expect anything, we don't do too much because we know it's temporary in the end. So like, won't that also cause a negative effect? How do we balance things like that?
Yeah, just don't be fanatical. And also, the opposite of entitlement is gratitude. You can't have gratitude when you feel entitled. Because if you get something when you feel entitled, you think, yeah, of course I get this because I deserve it. But if you feel I don't deserve anything when you get it, like a little attention from somebody, like, wow, that's really amazing. So it means to have this sense of wonderment of the world. Don't think that you deserve anything. Don't feel you're entitled, that you have to get it back. And if you work in that way, it doesn't mean to take it to the extreme. There are ways in which to use one's title in devotional service. For instance, Prabhupada insisted that he be called the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And he also induced his students to use an honorific. When one addresses a superior like the guru, one should use an honorific. But that's not a matter of his feeling entitled, and feel entitled to that. In fact, I was with Keshavarti Maharaj, my old friend, back in 1973 in San Francisco, and we met Prabhupada in his room. And my friend Keshavarti Maharaj said to Prabhupada, "It is all your mercy." And Prabhupada said, "It is not." And he smacked the table. And Keshavarti Maharaj thought, my devotional service is finished. I just made an offense. And then Prabhupada looked up and he said, "It is all the mercy of my Guru Maharaj." So it's not that we artificially try to impose this and then become impersonalists. But if we take some title, we do it for service. And we realize that this is being given to me by a higher power. This is what humility means, actually. It means to accept whatever ability we have as the mercy of Krishna, the mercy coming down to us through the Guru Parampara. And if we do that, then we'll be properly situated and we won't become entangled by the idea that I deserve this. And expectation, the less you expect to return. So if you don't want a reward for what you're doing, you don't expect a reward. If you really, like on Sankirtan, when we go on book distribution, I had heard many years ago, I heard this, there was a devotee in Russia, I haven't met him yet, but he was doing really big book distribution. And he said he had changed the way he approached people. And he offered them an opportunity to take a book, and if they wished, and he said he released them before he asked for the donation. He said, "Now, this is not for me, I don't need the money, and you don't have to. You can keep the book anyway. But if you give a donation, then it's for you. And if you don't, then you can have it anyway. But we ask a donation." And he said that he increased the amount of donations that he received, first of all. And second of all, it was a different relationship with people because he honestly didn't expect anything from them. And so I've noticed that also in my interactions on Sankirtan or anywhere else. If I generally am not trying to take something from the person, but I'm interacting with them out of a sense of service, then the relationship changes. It becomes something sublime. So not expecting anything in return, doing service for service. Devotee knows, ananyas chintayantamam ye jana paripasate, tesham nityabdiyuktanam yogakshemam bahamyaham. I love that verse because as Krishna is saying, if you're fully absorbed in thinking of me, and that means anukulyena krishnanu sevanam, that shilanam, anushilanam, that you're just cultivating this sense of unmotivated, uninterrupted devotional service for service. He says, our relationship becomes so intimate that he said, I'll bring you stuff. I'll bring it for you. With my hand, I'll give it to you. So devotees don't need anything from anybody. They're already full with everything. It all comes from Krishna. So no expectation, no entitlement. What other questions do you have? Questions are hard, but you get $100 for a bad one.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, thank you so much. It's so nice to see you. We missed you so much. I have a question about the sinful reactions that you said. We have so many sinful reactions, and when we do devotional service, then they are removed. Are they literally removed, or we just get the maturity to deal with them properly?
Well, that would be a matter of semantics, but yes, they are removed, as per the Padma Purana, which says, what's the name for the body? No. It's aprabdha parampaptam kutam bijam palonmukam kramenaya priliante Vishnu Bhakti ratatmanam. Padma Purana confirms, and this is a verse employed by Rupa Goswami when he's describing why devotional service immediately puts one in transcendental pleasure. It's because your karma gets removed. And he gives this verse for evidence. We can give others, like as we say in the Sri Brahma. Can I talk English? In the Brahma Samhita, he says, "Karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam govindamadi purusham tamaham vajami." If you're doing devotional service to Krishna, your karma is being taken away. How's it being taken away? In what part of the karma is being taken away? All parts. Aprarabdha. That means it's not manifest yet, and it's being taken away. Palam papam, it's in fruit form. Kutam bijam, there's different stages of growth, and in the seed form, in the almost seed form, in the fully manifest form, even in the prarabdha form, devotional service, as proved by Devahuti in the Bhagavatam. Aho batashva pachato garyanya jiva gre vartate nama tubhyam. Te pusta paste juhuvusasna arya brahmanachur nama grantiyete. That, oh, how wonderful it is that if somebody's dabbling in the holy name, they just said, Hare Krishna, just accidentally say it. Then she says that it's so wonderful. You can see that person becomes qualified to perform Vedic sacrifice, which means they may be a dog eater. They go home for Thanksgiving dinner. What's for dinner, dear? Dog again. This is somebody from that background is like they chanted Hare Krishna, they're becoming free from all sinful reactions. So this is a fact, and so then why is it? It seems that the sinful reactions may still be there. So this is answered in the commentary to the verse Tattenu kampam susamikshamano, as you well know, that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, why does it appear that devotees still get karma? Anyone? So why is it? It's because it has to do with papadum. Actually, I learned there's no papadum, it's only called papad, right? I don't know where you got papadum, but papadum means when you eat a certain number of poppers in one meal, then you've achieved papadum. But papa, sin. When you burn a popper, don't burn poppers, it's an offense. So if you burn a popper, then what happens is you can destroy the evidence. There's forensic evidence from burning a popper. Someone will find the charred remains and go, you burned a popper. You take it outside, you put it in the compost, wherever, and then somebody still comes home and they go, who burned a popper? Dumb. Because I still smell it in the air. And it stays there for days and days. So in a similar way, says Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, when we commit sinful activities in the material world, and there's a storehouse of them, please help our friends. Everyone, give them seats and everything else they need. This are Radha Kripa Prabhu will offer you seats and comfort. Okay, give them seats too. There's a few extra. All for all our friends. Here. We want you to be comfortable. Welcome, welcome everybody. Okay. So back to the papadam. And that is that there's a residue still in the air. There's still something there. Even after all the karma is removed, there's still some slight affinity for the material world. It's quite natural. And so what Krishna does is he knows what is called the last vestiges, the last vestige of our attachment to the material world, whatever it might be. Everyone has some different connection with the material world because of our past here. And so Krishna knows what it is. And then he gives us situations in the material world that appear to be karmic, but actually they're custom made by Krishna specifically for us so that we'll give up the last vestige of attachment to the material world. And that is his great mercy, as is mentioned in the Mahabharata, that the Lord is merciful to the devotees and that he takes away their attachments one after another. Okay, one more question.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. I have a question regarding the social media. As you mentioned that people have that attachment and they like to entertain themselves a lot, that inclination, spending time there. Should it be like heavily utilized for the devotional service, like propagating, and should we use like more explore the opportunities there and go and try to offer something else, like since the crowd is there already?
Yeah, so this is a principle called Yukta-vairagya. So, anasaktasyam vishayam, this is a verse given by one of the disciples of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on how we should live in the world in an enlightened way. He says, anasaktasya vishayan yatarham upayunjita nirbandha krishna sambandhe yuktam-vairagyam uchate prapanchikataya buddhya hari sambandhi vasuna mumukshabhi prityago vairagyam palgukatyate. Which means that everything within our purview has a utility in Krishna's service. And therefore, a devotee sees everything in the universe. Are you picturing everything in the universe? Who said yes? Okay, just try to picture everything in the universe all at once when I say three. 1, 2, 3, picture. Can you picture everything in the universe? Can you picture a lot of stuff? Okay. Everything in the universe is paraphernalia to be used in the service of Krishna. And this is the devotee's vision. So Krishna gives this principle in the Bhagavad Gita. He says, Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir, Brahmagnau Brahmanohutam, Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhina. Gives an example of a person doing a Vedic fire ceremony. There's a seat you sit on. That seat becomes spiritualized because it's for Krishna. There's a spoon you use to offer the ghee. That wood, that turns into Brahman or spirit. The ghee, it's dravya, it's just material element, but it turns into spirit. The fire becomes spiritualized. The mantra, spiritualized. Everything spiritualized. The priest who's doing it turns into Brahman. He said everything turns into spirit. So matter is just Krishna's energy. It's been covered over by neglect and ignorance. So when you engage it back again, then it becomes spiritualized. So you can use everything in Krishna service. Back to the internet. Yes, there's a way in which we can utilize everything, including social media, but you have to be careful. When Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur brought this principle to the front of his organization, previously these sadhus, they would back off from everything. And he then said, no, this is not the principle. The principle is to utilize everything that you have in the service of Krishna. So he got cars for many of his devotees because at that time, many of the important people that they were teaching Krishna consciousness to were used to people driving up in a car, not taking all day to walk to their house and then to walk in bare feet. He also put them in shoes. So he said, this is practical for this age to do that. And then later on, some of them started arguing over who got the car. And it was a matter of, he saw him leaning out the window a little bit like this, like, hey, I'm kind of cool now, right? And he said, no, you've crossed the line. So you have to be careful. When you utilize something in Krishna's service, always ask yourself, am I entitled? Am I expecting anything in return from this? Is this for me or is it for Krishna? Because that's the enlightened principle of moving about the world. At the same time, the verse says, don't do Yukta-vairagya. If you can use something but you don't use it because of a false sense of renunciation, then you've given up an opportunity to serve Krishna in an important way. Okay, for the last point. Madhava Govinda, yes? And online, okay. I'll keep my answer short so we have a couple minutes to chant. And may we have a microphone, please? Red mic, please.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj, for bringing such wonderful points regarding the entitlement and how in the initial years when we come, there's a sense of gratitude and that we feel very grateful for everything we are receiving. And as the years go by, there's a sense that we feel entitled to it. Although we hear it after a few days of some time, again there's a sense that how can we keep that as a constant reminder in our life?
One thing I've noticed helps me is to be around people that are grateful. And a lot of people that are grateful are people who are new to Krishna consciousness. That's why it's important to go out and teach Krishna consciousness to other people. Because, when somebody, you say, I'm going to teach you a mantra, and they go, oh my God, what is it? And then I think like, God, I wish I had that. I may have told this story before, but I'll tell it again because it's something that's dear to my heart. I was in North Carolina, and Nirkula and I were there taking out groups of devotees every day to show them what we had learned about the great art of book distribution. And one of those aspects is to go door to door to meet people. And so it was 108 degrees, that part I remember. And we were going to these apartment buildings. They were sort of middle class, maybe upper middle class a little bit. And so we knocked on one door, and a young man came to the door, and he was physically and perhaps mentally, but more seemed physically impaired, severely, although he's the one who opened the door. And right behind him was what appeared to us to be his nurse. He had a full-time nurse to take care of him. And so we showed him the book, and he was quite interested and wanted to keep it. But the nurse, for some reason, was averse to it, didn't want him to have it. But he fought against her and kept it. And there was a little battle that went on there. And then I told him, no, we don't sell these. And we don't need the money, but we ask people for donations, because when you give something in return, it gives you the wherewithal to actually read the book. It empowers you. And he was very enthusiastic about that immediately. And the nurse was doubly unenthusiastic as she was from Nikita. What do you mean? Now he's, And so he went back to get some donation. And they actually physically struggled. And he came back to the door and gave the donation. Then came the third part. I said, now I'm going to teach you a beautiful prayer that's meant to wake up love for God in your heart. And now the nurse tried to close the door on us. And he blocked it. He wanted to learn it. So I knew we didn't have much time because anything could happen, the door could close. So I said, please repeat after me. And I said the mantra 2 words at a time, Hare Krishna. Now when he repeated it, he was straining physically because he had this physical impairment. And there was something, just to pronounce the syllables, which I'm not going to imitate, but you can just use your imagination. And it took us a while to struggle through the mantra. Then the door closed. I turned around. I had 7 devotees with me, and they had tears in their eyes. And I said, what is it? And they said, he has way more desire to chant than we do. If I could only have one molecule of his desire to chant the mantra, so my life would be perfect. So in this way, our movement means to go out and present Krishna consciousness to others for what it makes of us. As we see ourselves in others, by the same token, you say, here, please, here, take a look at Bhagavad Gita. And it's like, no, I'm not interested. And it's like, well, wait a minute, you don't even know what it is. And if I look back, it's that's me too. My mind always does that. Let's read Bhagavad Gita. It's like, no, let's look at TikTok instead. And I see myself in the others that I approach. And in this way, we look in the mirror and we become purified, and we're able to appreciate over and over again vicariously through the people we present to. Thank you very much, everybody. Oh, yes, online. Oh, Kennedy. Well, definitely we're going to get Kennedy in. Come on, Kennedy, tell us.
I'll be quick. I just wanted to reflect on just something that came to mind while you were telling these beautiful stories, starting with we already have everything we need. And then apart from the story of the king where he tried to cheat the system. Well, in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad, it's one of my favorite phrases is that Krishna is the greatest cheater. I think that's beautiful, where you can't cheat him. And then at the very end as well, he's given us all of this information and he says, deliberate this fully, then do what you wish to do. And it just shows me that in all of this, no matter where we are in our journey in Bhakti, that at the end of the day, we are exactly where we need to be. And if we enjoy ourselves in the company of devotees, if we listen and hear the mantra, if we sing it fully, if we just are where we are doing everything right. And we've already been given the story and the tools that we need. It's like you said earlier, part of his mercy is that he will help us detach from the material. If we just allow ourselves to enjoy the process, then maybe this prison will be a little less restricting.
See, case in point. Well. Okay. So we'll take our next opportunity, not just for chanting, wait for it, but also for dancing. So dancing is a part of Bhakti Yoga. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced. India is famous for dance. There's Bharatanatyam dancing, there's Odissi dancing, and so forth. There are many dance moves. There's also the famous dance move called the Swami that anybody can do. And there's no particular exact way you have to dance, but it should be devotional. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to clear this floor, which is a dance floor. That's why it's wooden. And we'll give everybody an opportunity to take their places. We generally have the ladies on this side, the gentleman on the other side, so everyone helps free to roam around. And we'll put the seats back there, and we'll reconvene here in just about 2 minutes for a chanting and dancing session. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Hare Krishna. Jai. We'll try. I'm not sure if I know exactly, but I think we'll figure it out. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know. Vishnupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishdaya Bhutale. Mic her up. Sri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Prachadine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Shatadine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. More Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. One more time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki Yam Vishnupad Ashtotra Shat Krishna Kripa Murti Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj ki Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki Naam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki Vrindavan Mathura Dham ki Mayapur Navdweep Dham ki Purushottam Kshetra Jagannath Puri Dham ki गंगा मई यमुना मई की तुलसी देवी भक्ति देवी की सामवेद भक्त वृंद की ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की all glories to the Samudra all glories to the Samudra all glories to the Samudra all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga.
की Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Gaur Premanande.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We welcome you all to the Sunday Feast Festival here at ISKCON of Silicon Valley. Thank you all for joining us tonight here, and we also like to thank those who have joined us online. So let's give a big round of applause to everyone who has joined us today. Today's discourse and talk on Krishna Katha was brought to us by His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu. Let's express our gratitude and thank him for an excellent class. Hari Bol. Let's also thank him for bringing an ecstatic Aarti, Gaura Aarti and the Kirtan. Hari Bol. We'll also like to thank Madhuri Sakhi, Mataji, for leading the Narsimha Aarti. Hare Krishna. We'll also like to thank His Grace Charunimai Prabhu for bringing us the broadcast from the control room. Let's give a big round of applause. So anyone coming here for the first time? Thank you. Thank you. So we have a 3 days a week program here at ISKCON of Silicon Valley. Wednesday is an online class. Saturday we have a class starting at 6:15 a.m., goes till 10:30 a.m. And Sunday it's from 3:30 p.m. till 5:30 p.m. So if you have any questions or would be like, if you would like to be any assistant, please let us know, and we would be happy to assist you in any way we can. Okay? Thank you. And let's chant one Mahamantra for all the newcomers. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So what's coming up next at ISV is we have our monthly Kirtan Oasis Festival that we hold at Palo Alto at the intersection of University and Emerson Avenue, starting 6:59 p.m. So it's on March 24th, the Friday. The coming Friday is the Harinam at Palo Alto. So please join us. It's a very nice occasion for, you can invite your friends, family, kids. It's a very happy occasion, and we'll be there sharp at 6:59 p.m. Hare Krishna. See you all there. And we have for sponsorships, for Sunday sponsorship, we have 2 sponsorships for today. We'd like to acknowledge them. The first was Ayan Gupta. Prabhuji, he's sponsoring tonight's feast. So is he here? Ayan Gupta, Prabhu? Okay, so let's thank him in his absentia for sponsoring tonight's feast. We also have Narhari Prabhu, who is visiting us from Canada. He is our very old congregational devotee for sponsoring tonight's feast. So please, Prabhuji, please come here. If you can. Oh, Mataji, please. So thank you. Please come here, Prabhu. As you know, not many of you know, because he was there in Bascom Avenue. Anyone who knows Bascom Avenue Temple? Who knows? Okay, we only have few hands here, right? So Prabhuji was there at Bascom Avenue, and he moved to Canada. But we are very happy to have him here and sponsoring tonight's feast. Please, Prabhu, please come here. And there's a small prasad, and if you'd like to say a few words.
Hare Krishna. So I left in 2009, and I really felt, I was missing all the devotees at ISV. It's almost 14, 15 years since I'm back. And I don't recognize probably 95% of the people. Very, very happy to see. We hear about ISV, all the glories of the devotees at ISV worldwide. Everywhere we go, we see your Sankirtan scores are like, if small temples do like 10, maybe 50, we probably have to add 3 or 4 zeros to the Sankirtan scores for ISV devotees. Really, really inspiring, and Thank you very much. We really hope I can take more of your association, and you can also share your blessings to all the other yatras worldwide, so that we can learn from all of you how we can serve Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So those who don't know what Sankirtan is, we here mission at ISV is we go out every week to distribute our Srila Prabhupada books for the benefit of all the people in Bay Area and beyond. So Prabhuji was there participating in the Sankirtan when it started in Bascom Avenue. So he was referring that we were, initially had a small goals, but now devotees are going every week. In fact, some days they go every day for distributing the books. So thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji. So if you don't have any announcements, so Avantika would announce the cooks for today.
Hare Krishna. Today's prasadam was cooked by Ananda Vrindavan Mataji, Divyanand Prabhu, Shama Bhakta Prabhu, Gopi Priya Mataji, Sri Ram Prabhu, Hitesh Prabhu, Rasamrita Sesha Prabhu, Tapomai Prabhu, Manasi Mataji, Bimala Mataji, Shalini Mataji, Santosh Prabhu, and Tadiya Seva Prabhu.
Thank you. Now we'll go for Prasad Sevya prayers.
Thank you.